Hello everyone, welcome. It's been a while. It's been 4 days since we did this, our last Overwatch Daily. Well, today it's May at long last, and well, it's another Overwatch Daily. Like I said, we're doing Kongdoo Panthera, like Lunatic versus Lunatic High rather. We're back in Korea. We'll just jump on our flame on our plane, get over there, and well, it's different. Korean Overwatch is certainly different than watching what we've been watching so far, and like the Rumble and stuff like that. And so we'll start with this relatively tame game on King's Row, and we'll kind of explain a little bit just to get our feet wet. We'll just dip it in a little bit, just a little, just to warm up a little bit. It's never pleasant to just jump in all at the same time, right? All right, so if we look now, we have two teams. Lunatic High is attacking, Kongdoo Panthera is defending. And so this is normal. This is the most normal of normalness we could ever see. This is the Lunatic High comp we see with double supports, one including a Zenyatta, lots of dive, triple DPS. We have the Winston. All right, cool. That's very normal. Whoa, get out of here, start bar. Kongdoo Panthera, on the other hand, playing something a little bit weird, something we're not really used to seeing. And that is this double tank with a Genji and a soldier. And sure, we've seen this composition, like this composition does exist, but we haven't been seeing it very much lately. And so what this does is it is very much, remember, if we look at King's Row, look at all this, all high ground all around. It's very, very important. And so, oh, is the stream messing up? Do we have awful frames? Oh, it's fine. Well, it's fine. We're fine now. All right. Anyway, look at this high ground. Like I said before, King's Row is a map that, in the first point at least, the point is on the low ground, and there's no easily accessible ways to get up top. And oftentimes you'll hear me say that the defending team needs to have some way to project pressure up onto the high ground. Otherwise, just a soldier gets up there and he just kills everyone, and that's it. Whether it's holding the high ground or just having like a Genji or a D.Va to harass, we look at Kongdoo Panthera's lineup, and this is, they don't want people on the high ground. No, they don't. They have a Genji, Winston, and a D.Va. This is complete control over everything, and this is very necessary to deal with this type of thing. It's very, very popular, if not unanimously run essentially on the first point of King's Row in this particular meta that Lunatic High and Kongdoo Panthera find themselves in. So like I was saying, we have the soldier up here, very normal. This is the defending soldier up there, Rascal. He is their primary damage source. If he dies, that's it. That's the entire point, basically. If he lives, then there's still hope. And we'll see that come into play a little bit later. So Zumba's up here, being kind of casual. There isn't too much being done to him at this point, but now you're going to see in just a second Kongdoo Panthera's team composition. There we go. Jumps up to Winston, the D.Va, really harasses him, and, well, forces the soldier Zumba down. And here, Rascal should die. He should definitely be 100% dead, but by some miracle of the Lord, he stays alive. Many right clicks are missed. And because of this, he actually gets a nano boost. Like that. Helix Rocket for 150 to kill the Winston, and it just sort of kills everybody. Pretty good job by Rascal. Right there, it really looked like Lunatic High was going to win, but like I said, if Rascal's alive, if that soldier is alive, they're still in the game. That's how this composition works, because the soldier is everything to them. Also notice that Birdring, we will actually go back to when he swapped. When Birdring died, the point was being lost right now. Kongdoo Panthera was losing pretty hard, so he swapped to Tracer to get back a little bit faster. So now he's on Tracer. This is looking a bit more awkward now for Kongdoo Panthera in this particular lineup because Birdring felt the need to swap back to Tracer. They're going to have less high ground presence now, and we'll get into the second effect of that later on. And now Lunatic High is jumping in again. We do have a Visor on Rascal and no defensive ults yet. It's too early in the game, plus Lunatic High lost that first round. So this Visor should do a lot, but Rascal kind of botches it up. It's okay. not very good timing, and that's fine. So what? We don't have a visor anymore, but he doesn't take no for an answer. Rascal is all in. He's like, no, I'm killing people with this visor no matter what. And as a result, he goes up super, super far, abandons the high ground. And because Rascal is dead, that's their main source of damage. You're going to see that nobody on Lunatic High basically takes any damage. These health bars stay essentially rock solid because Rascal was the main focal point of the team. And so with no more soldier, that's it for the point. We have, Miro popped an ultimate. I think that, it was certainly some sort of misclick. I don't think that was even a mistake in terms of he thought the fight was going on, because he just sort of ulted on the point at the end when no one was left on the point, and he couldn't pressure on. But it's fine. It's whatever. He lost it. It's okay. Going to this next phase, though, this is going to be what I'm talking about. Now, we have both support ults up, and that's one of the advantages of this Lunatic High composition, is that they have 2 defensive ultimates, so it's not as vulnerable to wombo combo nonsense as tanky lineups as it normally would be. But notice Kongdoo Panthera's team composition. Normally, you would have ultimates that force these out, but really all they have is the visor. Normally, this would be a Genji, and Genji would have Blade. And so you could sort of alternate between Visor and Blade. But because Birdring swapped to Tracer, Kongdoo Panthera is missing that I'm going to call it macro game, like long term. So from now on, whenever I'm talking about long term things, I'll call it macro. So Tracer, much better in the short term. You swap to Tracer, she does a lot of damage really quick. She gets her ultimate really quick. But Genji is better long term. Genji's better for the macro game because he developed Blade, which is of course a team fight deciding ultimate. So they don't have that anymore. That will be a big deal because in the next fight, Ryo Jae-hong and Toby can pretty much pop their ultimates whenever they want. They don't have to specifically wait to block Birdring's Blade, which he would normally have at this point. But he has a pulse bomb. He can still land that theoretically. We'll see, though. Kongdoo Panthera is lining up. They have some stuff. They have a barrier. That's pretty cool. The barrier will be able to negate Huaryu's Blade. And that's always very good, because Huaryu's Blade is deadly, as we'll probably see later on. Lunatic High right now, without too many tools, Kongdoo Panthera, rather, without too many tools, has to dive the back line, which they do. And they actually managed to pick off the Lucio because of it. So that was a great, aggressive play. When you're on defense, down like that, and they knew they were down, you have to be aggressive. Huaryu pops the Blade. It is blocked by the barrier, as we went over before, very nicely. And Rascal even gets another Helix Rocket off. So Kongdoo Panthera's aggression is going pretty nicely here. We have the Winston jump in as well, and this is not bad either. It looked a bit scary at first, but it's okay. He has his ultimate. He kills Zumba. That's all they need. But here once again, Rascal. So Rascal has been a little bit rascally so far, I think, this round with his visors. So remember, he is still the key of this team. If we look, he is still the damage. Yes, the Tracer presents a little bit of more damage, potentially, if Birdring goes absolutely bonkers, right? But pretty much the Soldier is the damage. And so he needs to be safe. This guy can't die. If he dies, that's it. And whenever Rascal gets a visor, he tends to go a bit nutso, as we'll see once again here. Visor runs all the way up into Huaryu. Sure, he gets reflected into, that's fine. But still, he pushes the entire spawn. Whoa, tries to 1v6. I'm sure you can, Rascal. I have confidence in you. He even manages to take out the Tracer. Really sick, but still, unfortunately, the 1v6 didn't quite work out in their favor this time. And so without a Soldier, once again, it's pretty much it. That's the theme of the game. Does Kongdoo Panthera have their Soldier? If yes, then good. If no, then bad. I took a coding course in school. I'm smart. I know logic. So, all right, Lunatic High pushing forward. Kongdoo Panthera probably can't take this because this is one of the most difficult. Well, actually, if the camera can show us, this is one of the most difficult places to push out of in pretty much the entire game. because the attackers are attacking. The defenders have to retake uphill. They need to come through just this place. There's lots of nasty high ground up there on the catwalk and over there potentially that the attackers can have. So Kongdoo Panthera, unless they had some seriously serious plays behind them and serious ultimates, are not expected to be able to take this. In fact, Lunatic High was playing even a bit more passively than you would normally expect them to. Normally, you would expect teams to go and really, really shove up here because it's very, very difficult for the defenders to actually push up. Where are you, Pops Blade? Probably not necessary. Probably not necessary. So they will lose that. And that's actually twice so far that players on Lunatic High have just sort of burned their ultimate at the end of the fight. It hasn't severely killed them so far, but it is something that they certainly... let's get a different color here. That certainly could be a lot better as we look at the cute faces of our players. And now we have some swaps, lots of swaps. Now this is probably the most interesting part of this game I want to talk about. There were a couple interesting parts of this game, but this one is probably the most interesting one. So we have a swap onto Reinhardt, McCree, and Zarya. Okay, so this is a triple tank composition with Reinhardt, Zarya, and D.Va as the 3 tanks, and McCree as the 1 DPS. Why is McCree the DPS? We know this because Lunatic High is running crazy dive. They have Tracer, they have Eska running Tracer. Who are you on? Genji. And of course they have Winston. They have the Discord coming in the back from Zenyatta, who can also sling orbs. And Zumba likes to kind of run up and be a little bit aggressive, right? So it makes sense why they have the McCree, because most of these team fights will be happening close up. They don't need the range of the soldier. Cool. And it's on defense, so they don't really need the mobility. Okay. They swap to the Reinhardt as well, because we're in right now this phase where Reinhardt is quite strong at holding last. Plus, once again, the ult can potentially build up pretty quickly. He's not that terrible against dive for being a tank. All right. He's also just the triple tank standard. But this Zarya, all right. So Zarya normally is good. You'd be like, Zarya, cool, love Zarya. She's a great hero. She can peel, she can do all this stuff, she can shield people, nice. That's what we want. But remember I was talking about macro game before. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in future dailies as well, because this is a concept that I'm bringing up that's kind of new to you guys, I think. And so we were talking before about, okay, if you pick the Genji, he can get the blade, and that'll be good for later on. But we're almost at the end. Lunatic High just needs to win one more fight and they take everything, right? Just one more fight, they take the map. So do we want to focus on our macro game? Do we want to focus on long term? Do we want to say, okay, our Zarya will be able to get her ultimate and we'll win that fight in 2 minutes. 2 minutes from now, we'll win that fight guaranteed. Well, what if you don't get to that point? A bit scary. And with how Lunatic High has been performing, and you'll see that Rascal does not actually contribute much on this Zarya. He doesn't get an ultimate off. By the way, we have backline Eska just kind of... This never works, by the way. Whenever you're like really focusing, like, okay, I'm going to shoot him. I'm going to shoot him. I'm going to shoot him. And you just completely whiff. So they're going in right now. Okay. Lunatic High will win this fight. Lunatic High will win. Spoiler alert. They will win this fight. Now, what if Rascal was playing a Roadhog? Roadhog is a hero who most of his strength does not come from his ultimate. Most of his strength comes from his hook. It's kind of like Tracer, and where the moment he comes out, he's just strong right out of the gate. It's not like Zarya where you need to build up charge potentially. You need to build up your ultimate. I would think that a Roadhog would be the play here for Kongdoo Panthera. In fact, Rascal will even wind up swapping off to the Tracer in order to do stall. So the Zarya didn't really work out, not because Zarya is bad in this composition, and that's a very interesting point too, because normally if you were just in a vacuum and you said, hey, is this a good comp? Well, with the Zarya and stuff, you'd say, yeah, that's a good comp. I like that comp. But when you consider the scenario where it's like, okay, Lunatic High has the momentum. Lunatic High has been doing pretty well this map. If we swap onto we only have one fight left. We need strength now. It's not like back in Streets phase where we needed strength maybe down the line in the long term. We need strength right now. And so that's something I think is interesting to pay attention to as we look at more games here on the daily. All right, so Kongdoo Panthera is now attacking, and they're going pretty heavy dive. And once again, we come to something more interesting. There's lots of interesting stuff in this game. So Birdwing is playing Widowmaker, and this is a real Widowmaker. He's not switching off. This is actually him on Widowmaker. Okay, that's not too abnormal on King's Row. But Luffy is playing Mercy. Why? Why play Mercy when there's no Pharah? Okay, well, if we look at their composition here, what do we have? We have a Winston. What can he do? He can jump in. We have a Diva. What can she do? She can jump in with Rocket Boost. What can Tracer do? She can blink in. What can Widowmaker do? She can just grapple around. Do we need speed? I don't think so. And Kongdoo Panthera doesn't think so either. At the same time, Anna would be too slow. Anna would not be able to really do anything with this team. Plus, because they know Lunatic High is running a Winston, they're scared that the Anna will just run into the bubble and not be able to heal anybody. So here, Mercy is actually the perfect option without a Pharah even being in the game. Isn't that cool? Plus, by the way, a damage boosted Widowmaker one-shots a Tracer in the body. Hey, that's a cool bonus. That's not why they're running it, though. It's just a cool bonus. And we're going to see here that this Widowmaker does quite well because she's pretty mobile. And notice, by the way, normally you'd say, okay, why don't you just grapple up there? The reason Birdwing isn't grappling up there, presumably one of the reasons, is because when you burn this grapple, you're potentially dead. He wants to save the grapple only to get away. Because if he burns this right now, potentially he could go dove on, and that's going to be it. So you'll see that Birdwing is very, very cautious using his grapple against such an aggressive Lunatic High defensive composition that I'm not talking about very much because we've seen it before. Birdwing's going to go machine gun mode Widowmaker, which is apparently very OP, get a ridiculously sick headshot on Lucio, but still, just in general, Lunatic High's composition can't really beat this. At least not on even terms, because they can't really dive the Widowmaker. She's too mobile. She can grapple away, waste too much time, while the rest of the team dives this very, very vulnerable Ryu Jae Hong, who was also very scared of the Widowmaker, by the way. Luffy can't die because he's playing Mercy. He just flies around to all these crazy other mobile heroes. And so, really, I think Kongdoo Panthera kind of metagamed Lunatic High pretty well here. And it worked. They took the point super, super fast. And they're coming into the next area. Now, here's a very surprising thing. Birdwing is not swapping off, or, well, normally Rascal plays it, right? But they're not swapping off of this. They're not swapping off to a Pharah. Widowmaker is very, very bad on this section of the map. And I don't like saying bad. It's such a bad word, right? But she's quite bad. Because there are so many corners, there's no long sight lines, as we'll see here. Look, she can't really see anything. She can't see there, then there's another corner, and then there's another corner, and then there's another corner. And so the ability to really exploit a Widowmaker is not so big. Plus, it's not like you're really saving for her ultimate. It's like, oh man, we really need to save that wall hack ultimate. That's really amazing. You're going to see that, well, she gets a shot onto Who Are You, but is forced back pretty severely. And in general, Birdwing does not really have too much of an impact because of the way Streets phase is done, as opposed to before where he had amazing impact because of the nature of the first point. So I would imagine that when they die, they will certainly swap off to like a Pharah, swap the Widowmaker off to a Pharah, almost certainly. Especially if they're going to keep Luffy on to the Mercy. They could swap off to like a tankier thing here, but I'm pretty much expecting the Pharah. And indeed, we get it. Cool. Maybe we don't swap directly off to the Pharah, but this guy swaps to the Pharah, but we actually go for a Genji. All right, so we go for a little bit more mobility. Normally, Tracer is very good on the Streets phase because it's a very flat type of battle. But Genji, like I said before, why would you pick Genji here over Tracer? Even though technically I think Tracer has more of an advantage in flat areas because of macro game. we don't really have any. If there's a Tracer, Kongdoo Panthera would have nothing to look forward to. There's pretty much no long-term game here. I mean, rockets are okay, but there is no guarantee you'll ever be getting through. Lunatic High will just be able to kind of walk all over you with their defensive ultimates. Having the Genji, though, does put pressure on. Like right now, well, Toby's close enough where Ryu Jae-hong can burn his ultimate, but then Toby cannot barrier until Bird Ring pops Blade. Because if they don't have a defensive ultimate for Bird Ring's Blade, then, well, they could just die. And off camera, we see a couple picks. No more Tracer anymore for Lunatic High, but who are you? Oh, can he get him? Dash up. Can he get him? So blades are not, Blade is not a ranged weapon, unfortunately. So he couldn't quite get the Flying Mercy. It was very close, though. It was very close. Who are you really tried to be a bird there? You'd think that Bird Ring would be more likely to make that sort of play based on the name, but Lunatic High pushes Kongdoo Panthera back with some stuff that we didn't see on camera because the camera was justifiably distracted with the flying Genji trying to kill Mercy and Fair with the blade. But going in, Bird Ring a bit slow on the ultimate, actually. A bit slow with his ultimate game. That's going to affect Kongdoo Panthera quite a bit moving into this next section of the map. He theoretically should really have it by now. In fact, if you look, who are you? Already used his ultimate, and he has more than Bird Ring does. So when you have a Genji, that the pace that he gets that can really affect you. Unless well, actually we see a barrier used. This is all off camera, by the way. We see a barrier used. Unless Rascal gets the sickest ultimate rocket barrage of doom, then it'll be pretty difficult for Kongdoo Panthera to push through Visor, Ryu Jae-hong's ultimate. In fact, I'm surprised that Ryu Jae-hong even used it here, considering now Bird Ring has free reign to do whatever he wants with a blade, because there's no barrier, there's nothing against it. I mean, this blade is really the only big offensive team wipe ultimate that Kongdoo Panthera has. So you'd expect normally Lunatic High to save at least one defensive ultimate for it. Toby is getting pretty close, though. Toby is really good at building his ult, by the way. In the games I've seen recently, Toby has been really on the ball with his charging with Lucio. But Rascal is going to get some absolutely beautiful, spicy rockets onto Zumba. And when you take out a Soldier that early, it's pretty devastating. Soldier isn't as integral to Lunatic High's comp as it was to Kongdoo Panthera's composition before, but hold on. I'm going to stop. We're going to watch that one more time. We're going to watch what Who Are You just did. So remember before I said how it's a bit difficult to kill flying people with a sword? Well, Who Are You doesn't care. Who Are You just does it. He's kind of a monster. I feel like he practiced that. He's like, okay, guys, we're gonna go into practice, and we're gonna put it to like infinity ultimate charge, and I'm just gonna go and kill Pharaohs and Mercies with my blade. I'm just gonna practice that, grind that for hours and hours and hours, and now he's a master. In fact, the tournament specifically did a replay of that. So it was actually really entertaining listening to the Korean casters specifically. The Korean casters are always great at getting excited at that. So, oh no, Pulse Bomb kind of misses. It's all right. Bird Ring has a blade. But Toby already has his barrier, like we were talking about before. And Ryu Jae-hong, I mean, man, they've been really on the ball this time. Oh, I forgot to say, wow, that was one of the most important things to talk about so far. We got distracted by the Flying Genji. Rascal swapped off to Reaper. And we also have a swap onto Reinhardt. Why? Well, they already burned the res. Luffy swapped off to Anna. And if you look at this, well, Who Are You already used the blade. Who Are You already used his blade. So that means Bird Ring is greater than Who Are You. Remember, took a coding course. I know logic. I think. Bird Ring greater than Who Are You. So that's not a problem. And now you have to think, okay, what about the rest of this composition? It's kind of squiggly, squaggly. It's very mobile. It's not so good at up front fights. So they're just gonna pick straight up brawlers to kill them on the ground. Kongdoo Panthera is like, we're going to pick Reaper, we're going to pick Reinhardt, we're just going to walk into you, and we're going to kill you in a ground fight. And, well, fortunately, we have just a barely sidesteps the Eska Pulse Bomb. And we do see, in the kill feed at least, off-camera, Rascal is doing quite a bit of work. Lunatic probably taken a bit off guard by this. Because, like I said, they're a very mobile, cutesy, sort of, okay, we'll go around, we'll sort of dance around you type of composition. And Kongdoo Panthera, down a lot of ultimates, down on momentum. They don't have anything, like, they're not going to just take Lunatic high at their own game. So they said, hey, we'll just swap off to a Reaper, swap off to a Reinhardt, and we'll just go and kill you. We'll just do a lot of damage real fast and real close. And so, indeed, it works. Very nicely done. And now we have 2 minutes left to push into the last. So, of course, yeah, we're going to swap off. That's obvious. And now, once again, let's talk macro game. Rascal swapped off to the Zarya yet again. But why? Well, first of all, it's good. But why is this good? Why is this actually good from a macro perspective? Well, they want to take the map. If they don't take the map, they lose. And losing's not fun. Even if they take it in overtime, well, they only have to defend the point for 2 minutes on the first point. That's totally doable, right? Plus, this is the patch where you only need 1/3. You have to take at least 1/3 of the points, right? There's no longer this 1% thing you can do. So it's not as bad. So swapping up to the Zarya, you will guarantee yourself a Graviton Surge before this game ends. So basically, and a Blade, and a Nano, and that, right? Like, and a barrier. So Kongdoo Panthera is basically saying, okay, we want to do the Wombo Combo Mega Team fight just to finish this off. So they won't be very strong in these next upcoming fights. I'm very surprised that Ryu Jae-hong popped his ultimate here, by the way. Especially against such a Wombo Combo team. It's going to be so essential that he has that. Although, at this rate, he's been getting his ultimate like a serious madman. He's already at 13%. Ryu Jae-hong's 20%. I mean, come on. If you just have an ultimate every 30 seconds, then I guess why not pop it like candy, right? But now Kongdoo Panthera, they'll continue to be kind of slow. They're going up. They're still charging their Blade on Genji. They're still charging the Graviton on Rascal. It's all right. Not a big deal. They're still charging the barrier. Remember, they just want to complete the map here. They just want to complete the map. They're not going for speed at all. So, all right, pushing in here. They have Blade. They have Nano. They have everything. And they choose to use some of it. So they used Barrier, they used Shatter, and they used Nano, but not on the Blade. Very strange. Very strange. You'd expect them to do that. It was off camera, so it could have been that Luffy missed the Nano. Because it was off camera, you couldn't see exactly the positioning of the Genji versus the Ana, but you'd expect that. Now at least they have a Genji Blade combo, but Ryu Jae-hong, it's been long enough that, well, he had time to recharge his ultimate again. So either Kongdoo Panthera, either Luffy lands the greatest grenade of his life, or I think Kongdoo Panthera is going to be severely disappointed with this Graviton Blade combo coming up. So Luffy right now, he should be flanking around. He should be doing his best to be getting this crazy Grenade of Doom. Or maybe they just don't expect Ryu Jae-hong to be a god and charge his ultimate like a madman. And so here's the Blade, and there's the Transcendence, and everybody's alive. Sad cry, frown from Kongdoo Panthera there. And who are you? Use the Blade to finish it off. So this will last for a little bit longer as Kongdoo Panthera desperately continues on the point. And Nano Boost onto Rascal will stall this out for a decent while longer. Of course, shields plus Reinhardt makes this a little bit difficult to deal with, but still, Lunatic High does have the advantage. Kongdoo Panthera doesn't really have a lot of punching power either. It's not like they have a soldier. Really, I think that potentially actually Birdwing switching to soldier here would be preferable. But still, regardless of what they picked, because they had such little control at this point, even after the Earth Shatter, it is what it is. They'll push forward, but at this point, Lunatic High will come out. There are only 5 players here for Kongdoo Panthera. The 6th will not get here in time. Lunatic High will come out, and they'll wind up winning. It's still pretty close, though, actually, because there's this Diva Bomb that we'll see in just a second that picks off Who Are You? Like that. And Genji is usually your win condition when it comes to these grindy last-minute fights for defense. Usually on defense, when you're trying to clear the fight out for, like, finally, usually the Genji Blade is that final win condition you have. But a nice boop on Fissure and nice play overall by Lunatic High. We'll stop Kongdoo Panthera. And so, Kongdoo Panthera, well, Lunatic High, rather, takes the map. Cool. We'll take questions now, by the way. But I thought that was just a great map to kind of introduce ourselves back into Korean Overwatch, because it's quite a bit different from sort of the Rumble Championship, the Western stuff we've been seeing. I do like how there's sort of distinctive styles to them. I would say definitely Koreans play much more, I don't even want to say aggressive, they just play much more liberally. They're like, we'll just do stuff, and it's cool stuff, and it's fun to watch. So there's lots of interesting things in this map between the Reaper swap and the Mercy without a Pharah, and just all this sort of cool stuff. So like I said, we will take questiones. All right, you have talked about comms in solo queue, but how does a team work on comms together? I feel like right now my team's comms are either really good or really bad. We love to run dive, but are struggling with targeting the same person even if the target is called. Would love to hear what you think. Thanks. All right, so comms for teams. The only way to improve anything is to set specific variables, I guess, specific goals, and say, okay, we can monitor these things. And the important thing is for that is to give everyone a specific role. So, for example, someone might be the macro caller. He's going to be the one who tells you when to swap. He'll tell you what set play to run, what strat to run, where do we push, is it going to be mid, is it anything like that. He'll tell you all that sort of stuff, macro caller. Then you can have a micro caller. Some people call them the fight caller or the target caller, whatever. And so that's when a fight starts, that's the person who says, okay, kill McCree, kill that guy, retreat, push forward, res, whatever. The in-fight stuff. And then everyone else shuts up. All right? Like when you have roles like that, macro caller, micro caller, and then 4 people who their only job is to give informational calls, right? Is to say, Genji is over there. That's an informational call. That's not an opinion. That's a straight up fact. Saying something like, Tracer blinked behind us. That's a fact. That's just an informational call. And so if you have 4 people on your team just calling out information, and then you have a micro caller and a macro caller, now everyone has things that they can specifically work on. And you can say, okay, here, the transition between the macro guy and the micro guy didn't really work out very well. They were kind of stepping over each other. Or here, you two were kind of saying the same information. Let's try to work on that. You have to split it up like that so you can improve one thing at a time, and then you'll be on the road to improvement. All right. I noticed, says Sirax Power, I noticed that they didn't use the Genji reflect animation cancels quite often. Is that dependent on the hero that you're facing? So, yeah, it's really dependent on the situation. There's no reason to just always cancel out of it. But, I mean, when you can, you can. Also, remember, the camera wasn't always on them. So, it would probably just coincidence. But it certainly is dependent on the hero you're facing. Like if you're facing a hero who can really exploit it, like an Ana who knows exactly when your deflect goes down can just kill you, right? A Widowmaker who knows exactly when your deflect goes down can just kill you. But against other heroes that it doesn't really matter the timing as much, it's not as big of a deal. We will take one more. When Kongdoo was on attack, how did their Zen not get dived? Didn't seem like they had any peel on that first point. They did not. They had a Mercy. Oh, you mean Lunatic High. We'll go back to what you mean. I'll show you guys. So this is what you mean. On the first point, Lunatic High was running a Zenyatta. And so basically, yeah, so you can see this. Zenyatta with no peel at all. No peel. How did he not get dived? Zenyatta is, first of all, very strong on King's Row, specifically on attack. because he can hide way back here and be very safe relatively. But the reason why you generally run Zenyatta in that full dive comp is it's like an all-in comp. Basically, you're on attack, you dive them so hard that they can't dive you back, or even if they do, like let's say you dive with everybody and then they have like a Genji or a Tracer that they've teched into their comp, he comes back, he kills your Zenyatta. The idea is that you went so fast that the fact that their flanker was missing at all to try to kill your Zenyatta will kill them. That's the idea. You just go in real fast, you kill everybody. And so basically it's like a glass cannon strat. You are kind of sacking your Zenyatta. You're like, my Zenyatta might die, but you're gonna die faster. And that's the idea. So anyway, that's about all I think for this daily. I will stick around a little bit on stream, but for you guys on YouTube, never forget to stay positive as I grab my ending screen that is not on a hotkey. And have a great day. See you soon.